I've worked maintenance at the Hargrove Hotel for 11 years. In that time, I've replaced over 200 light bulbs in the hallways, unclogged more toilets than I care to remember, and fixed the ice machine on the 4th floor at least 60 times. But the one thing I was never supposed to fix was the service elevator. The Hargrove is one of those old buildings that has more history than it does structural integrity. Built in 1923, it was originally a luxury hotel for railroad executives passing through the Midwest. Now it's a mid-tier business hotel that smells like carpet cleaner and broken dreams. There are 3 elevators. 2 modern ones installed in the 90s, reliable, boring, efficient. And then there's the service elevator at the back of the building, behind a door marked, "Staff Only," in faded brass letters. The service elevator still has its original cage door. Manual operation. You pull the brass lever to the floor number you want, and it groans its way up or down through the shaft like a dying animal taking its last breath. Management keeps it operational for moving large items between floors. Furniture, laundry carts, that sort of thing. But there's a rule, one that's never been written down anywhere, never put in any employee handbook, but every single person who works at the Hargrove knows it. You do not use the service elevator after midnight. I learned this on my first day. Carl, the head of maintenance at the time, told me while we were replacing a bathroom faucet on the 6th floor. He said it the way you'd tell someone not to touch a hot stove, matter of fact, like it was just common sense. The service elevator doesn't go where you want it to after midnight, he said. I don't know why. Don't need to know why. Just don't use it. I didn't ask questions. Carl had been there 27 years. If he said don't use it, I didn't use it. For the first 5 years, I never even thought about it. The modern elevators worked fine. The service elevator was for daytime bulk transport, nothing more. It was easy to forget the rule existed because there was never a reason to break it. Then the flood happened. In March of 2021, a pipe burst on the 8th floor at 11:30 at night. Water everywhere. The modern elevators automatically shut down when the water sensors triggered, safety protocol. The stairs were passable, but I needed to get an industrial wet vac from the basement to the 8th floor, and that thing weighed over 100 pounds. I stood in front of the service elevator door at 1:45, water dripping from the ceiling above me, and I thought about Carl's rule. 1:45. Not after midnight. Technically safe. I pulled open the brass gate, stepped inside, and pulled the lever to be for basement. The elevator descended. Normal. Slow, loud, but normal. I grabbed the wet vac, wheeled it in, and pulled the lever to 8. The elevator started going up. I watched the floor indicator, an old analog dial with a brass needle. B. 1, 2, 3. At the 3rd floor, the lights in the elevator flickered. Not unusual for old wiring. I didn't think anything of it. 4, 5. 6. At 6, the elevator stopped. The lights went out completely. I was standing in absolute darkness, the only sound the wet vac's wheels settling on the floor and something I can only describe as breathing. Not my breathing. I was holding my breath. This was a slow, deliberate inhale-exhale pattern coming from somewhere above me. Inside the shaft. Like someone was sitting on top of the elevator car, their mouth pressed against the ceiling grate, breathing down into the cabin. I told myself it was the building. Old buildings breathe. HVAC systems, air pressure differentials, temperature changes. There's always an explanation. Then the breathing said my name. Not a voice saying my name. The breathing itself formed the syllables. Like when you whisper something while exhaling, except this was deeper, thicker, like the air itself was being shaped into language. Marcus. 2 syllables pushed through the grate with a wet, warm exhale that I felt on the top of my head. I slammed my hand against every button on the panel. The emergency phone. The alarm bell. Nothing worked. The elevator was dead. The breathing continued. Slow. Patient. Like whatever was up there had all the time in the world. Marcus. You're early. Early. Like it was expecting me. Like there was an appointment I didn't know about. I pressed myself against the back wall of the elevator. My phone was in my back pocket. I fumbled for it, nearly dropped it, got the flashlight on. The ceiling grate was a simple ventilation panel. Metal slats, maybe 6 inches between them. I pointed the light up and through the slats I could see the inside of the elevator shaft. Cables. Concrete. Normal. But the breathing was still there. Right above me. Inches from the grate. And there was nothing there. My phone's clock read 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes. I don't know what made me look at the floor indicator dial. It shouldn't have been visible, the power was out. But the brass needle was moving. Slowly, smoothly, silently moving past the numbers. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The Hargrove Hotel has 8 floors. 12, 13, 14. The needle kept climbing. Past numbers that shouldn't exist, into blank space on the dial where no numbers were printed. And the elevator was moving. I could feel it now, that subtle upward pull, the sway of cables. Going up. Past the roof. Past anything. At 11:59, the elevator stopped again. The lights came back, but wrong. The bulb was the same 40-watt incandescent it had always been, but the light it cast was different. Longer shadows. Warmer, almost orange, like firelight. And through the brass gate, I could see a hallway. Not the 8th floor hallway. Not any hallway in the Hargrove. This was the same architecture, same crown molding, same wallpaper pattern, but stretched. The hallway extended in both directions further than I could see. Doors on both sides, numbered in a sequence I didn't recognize. Not sequential numbers. Dates. The door directly across from the elevator was labeled, March 15, 2021. Today's date. I did not open the gate. I did not step out. Every cell in my body was screaming at me that if I stepped into that hallway, I would never find my way back. The breathing above me had stopped. But now I heard something else. From behind the door marked with today's date. My own voice. Muffled, like I was hearing myself through a wall. But it was unmistakably me. Talking to someone. Laughing, even. Having a normal conversation. Then screaming. My own scream, twisted and prolonged, coming from behind that door. At exactly midnight, the elevator dropped. Not descended. Dropped. Free fall. The wet vac flew up and hit the ceiling. I was weightless for what felt like 3 seconds but was probably less than 1. Then it caught. Hard stop. My knees buckled and I went down. The lights were normal again. The dial showed 6. 6th floor. The doors opened, the real 6th floor. Flickering hallway lights, water-stained carpet, the distant sound of the burst pipe still running. I left the wet vac in the elevator. I took the stairs down to the lobby. I sat behind the front desk for the rest of my shift and did not move until sunrise. The pipe damage cost the hotel $40,000 because I didn't get to it in time. Management was furious. I didn't care. Carl retired the following year. On his last day, I told him what happened. He listened without expression, nodded once, and said, "That's about right. Happened to Dolores in housekeeping too, back in '94. She used it at 12:01. Came back fine, but she quit the next day. Wouldn't talk about what she saw past the gate." "What's up there, Carl?" He put on his coat and picked up the cardboard box with his desk things in it. 11 years of mugs and photos and a small desk fan. "I think it's the hotel," he said. "Not our hotel. The one underneath. Or above. Or wherever it actually is. Our hotel is just the part that pokes through into the regular world. Like an iceberg. That doesn't make any sense." "No," he agreed. "But the elevator knows where the rest of it is. And after midnight, that's where it wants to go." He left. I never saw him again. It's been 3 years since that night. I still work at the Hargrove. I still follow the rule. But last week, something changed. I was doing my evening rounds, checking the fire extinguishers on each floor. Normal routine. When I got to the 8th floor, I heard the service elevator moving. This was unusual. Nobody had called for it. I checked the log. No maintenance requests, no large deliveries scheduled. I walked to the back of the 8th floor. The staff-only door was closed. I could hear the elevator on the other side. Not the mechanical noise of it ascending or descending. It was idling. Sitting there. The cables humming with tension, like a car left running. And taped to the staff-only door was a note. Hotel stationery. Old, yellowed, with the Hargrove logo from the 1920s. Handwritten in ink that had dried brown with age. But the paper was crisp. No water damage, no dust. Fresh old, if that makes sense. It said, "Marcus, your appointment has been rescheduled. Please take the service elevator to your floor. Management." There was a floor number written beneath it. My birthday. Formatted as a number. Month and day and year, no slashes, no dashes. Just the number. The same format as the doors in that impossible hallway. I pulled the note off the door and took it to my office. I've kept it in my desk drawer since then. Every morning when I come in, I check to make sure it's still there. It is. But the date on it keeps changing. Getting closer. I don't know what happens when it reaches today's date. I don't know what's behind the door with my number on it. I don't know what version of me was screaming that night. But the service elevator is waiting. It runs by itself now, every night after midnight. I can hear it from any floor in the building. Up and down, like it's pacing. Like it's impatient. My appointment is in 6 days. If you're reading this and you ever stay at the Hargrove Hotel, here's my advice: take the stairs. And if you hear the service elevator moving after midnight, don't listen to what it's saying. Because it knows your name too.